I'm 42, a single mom, and I thought I'd seen it all until this year turned into a complete circus. My son, Ethan, just turned 18 3 months ago. He's always been a good kid, smart, respectful, kinda quiet. He never gave me any serious trouble. I figured we'd coast through his last year of high school, he'd pick a college, and life would move on like it's supposed to. Then one night, he sat me down and told me that his girlfriend, Anna, was pregnant. They'd only been dating a few months, and she was 19, which already raised a few red flags for me. Not because of the age gap, but because I'd met her once, briefly, and got a strange vibe. She was bubbly, too bubbly. The kind of girl who acted like she was already part of the family before she even knew anyone. At the time, I brushed it off as just being overly friendly. Now I wish I'd trusted my gut. When Ethan broke the news, I won't lie, I didn't handle it well. I asked every panicked question a mom could ask. Was he sure it was his? What was her family saying? Did they want to keep it? Was this a setup? He insisted they were in love, they wanted to raise the baby together, and they had it all figured out. And I, being the mom who raised him to take responsibility, swallowed my fear and told him I'd support him. That's when the real trouble started. A week after the announcement, Anna's parents showed up on my doorstep. Not a call. Not a text. They just showed up. Her mom was holding a binder of plans, and her dad had the audacity to refer to my house as the temporary family home. At first, I thought I'd misheard him. But no. They straight up expected me to let not just Anna, but her parents too, move into my 3-bedroom house. They said it would ease the transition for the baby and help us blend as a new family unit. Anna's mom even offered to redecorate my guest room as a nursery annex. My head was spinning. I told them politely, but firmly, that wasn't going to happen. They smiled. Like I was joking. That was the beginning of a nightmare I didn't see coming. After they left that first night, I thought it was over. I figured they were just overwhelmed, maybe a little overbearing, but harmless. I even tried to convince myself that they were just excited future grandparents trying to stay involved. But 2 days later, Anna showed up with boxes. Not little ones. Not a suitcase. Boxes. Plural. Like she was already halfway moved in. She didn't even knock, just walked right in with Ethan behind her, looking sheepish. I stood there, frozen, as she breezed past me, dropped one of the boxes in the hallway, and asked where she and Ethan would be sleeping. I asked her what she thought was happening here. She blinked, all innocent, and said her parents told her it was handled. That she and Ethan would stay in his room for now, and that her parents would be moving their stuff next weekend. She even said it like we'd all talked about it. Like we'd had a family meeting and I had agreed to all this. I looked at my son, my sweet, quiet son, and he just stared at the floor like it might swallow him whole. No defense. No explanation. Nothing. I told Anna to sit down, and I took Ethan into the kitchen. I asked him what the hell was going on. He told me he was trying to do the right thing. That Anna's parents were pressuring them to live together, and that this was the only way to prove he was serious. I asked him how any of this made sense. Why I, the one who wasn't even consulted, was suddenly being expected to house not only a pregnant teenager but her entire family too. He had no answer. I asked him one question, did you want this? He said no. But he felt trapped. And worse, he said he didn't want to look like a bad guy. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just told him to go upstairs, take a breath, and that Anna could stay for dinner while we figured things out. That night, I texted her parents and said we needed to talk, in person. They showed up the next day. With a moving truck. When I saw that moving truck pull up outside my house, I actually laughed. Not because it was funny, because I couldn't believe it was real. Like, who does that? Who shows up with a truck full of furniture after one tense text message and zero confirmation? Anna's dad hopped out first, waving like this was some happy occasion. Her mom followed, clipboard in hand, wearing yoga pants and a bless this mess shirt that nearly sent me into orbit. I didn't even open the door right away. I stood at the window for a solid minute, watching them walk around like they owned the place. The movers started unloading before I even said a word. A crib, plastic bins labeled baby supplies, a set of drawers, and, to top it off, an armchair. An actual recliner. I opened the door and stepped outside. Anna's mom launched straight into a speech about how grateful they were for my generosity, how this was the start of a shared future, and how she already had a Pinterest board of how she wanted to organize the garage. I cut her off, told her to stop unloading, told her nothing had been agreed on, told her the only reason I invited them over was to have a discussion, not start building a commune. Her expression changed fast. That warm, cheery tone snapped right off her face. She said she didn't understand why I was being so hostile, especially since Ethan and Anna were building a family. And then, this part still makes my skin crawl, she said that my house was the logical choice because it was cleaner, bigger, and because her husband had bad knees and couldn't do stairs. Bad knees. I turned to Anna's dad, expecting him to at least be embarrassed. He shrugged and said, "We thought you'd come around once you saw the baby stuff. I've never had such a visceral urge to throw people off my lawn. But I didn't. I just said, clearly and calmly, that they had 10 minutes to load their things back in the truck, or I'd call the police." Anna's mom lost it. Called me selfish. Said I was abandoning my future grandchild. Said I was destroying the unity we were offering. Unity? No. What they were offering was control. Of my house, my life, my son. And I wasn't playing along. Anna was upstairs with Ethan the whole time. When she finally came down and saw her parents packing up again, she looked like she didn't know who to be mad at. Her mom told her to come on, "We'll talk about this later," but Anna refused to leave. That's when I realized, this wasn't just pressure. It was something deeper. Something was seriously off about how all of them were acting. And I hadn't even scratched the surface yet. That night, the house felt like a pressure cooker. Anna stayed in Ethan's room, and the silence between the three of us was unbearable. Ethan wouldn't even make eye contact. He looked like a kid who knew he messed up but didn't know how to fix it. I didn't sleep. At 3 a.m., I found myself sitting at the kitchen table, scrolling through Anna's social media, something I'd never bothered to do before. Her accounts were public. Everything was there, and I mean everything. There were dozens of posts about building her dream family, about how she was going to be a stay-at-home mom by 20, about how her boyfriend's mom was so generous and supportive. Photos of baby clothes, pictures of my house, our living room, Ethan's room, even the backyard. She'd posted them weeks ago. The captions? "Can't wait to raise our baby here. Already feels like home. One step closer to forever." I felt sick. This wasn't just some girl who got pregnant and was trying to figure things out. This was a plan. She had already decided that my home was her home. That I was going to be part of her built-in support system, whether I liked it or not. And the worst part? Ethan was tagged in all of it. Smiling, holding up baby onesies, standing in my hallway like a proud dad. This had been going on for weeks, and I had no idea. The next morning, I confronted him. He admitted that he knew about the posts. That he posed for most of them. But he swore he never meant for it to go this far. He said Anna kept saying she just wanted to manifest a positive future, and he didn't want to upset her. I asked him what his actual plan was. He didn't have one. That's when I realized my son was in way deeper than I thought. Not just emotionally, but psychologically. He was being manipulated, guilt, and gaslit into playing along with a fantasy he clearly wasn't ready for. And now that Anna's parents had been turned away, the pressure was all on me. That night, Anna came into the kitchen while I was washing dishes. She was smiling, too sweet. She said she wanted to have a woman-to-woman conversation. And what she said next made my blood run cold. She told me, with a straight face, that she saw me as a co-mother. That we were going to raise this baby together. And that I had nothing to worry about because she was planning on staying as long as it takes. I stood there frozen, water still running. Because it hit me, this wasn't a teenage mistake. It was a trap. And we were already in it. After that co-mother conversation, I couldn't unhear it. The words just looped in my head for the rest of the night. As if I was supposed to feel honored to be included in this twisted little fantasy world she'd built. As if I was lucky to be drafted into motherhood all over again, on her terms. I barely slept. Again. The next morning, I called my sister. She's a lawyer. I hadn't told her much until that point because honestly, I was embarrassed. I felt like I had lost control of my own home. But once I laid it all out, her first response was immediate and brutal. "You need to get her out of your house. Today." She told me that unless Anna was officially a tenant, I had the right to remove her. No lease, no rent, no verbal agreement, nothing that tied her to the property. But the longer she stayed, the messier it could get. And then my sister asked me something that hadn't even crossed my mind yet. "Do you even know for sure that she's pregnant?" I blinked. I mean, Ethan believed it. Anna said she was. There were baby posts, talk of due dates, even a list of baby names on the fridge, but now that she said it out loud, I realized something disturbing. I'd never seen a single medical record. No ultrasound. No appointment calendar. No vitamins. Nothing. I hung up and went straight to Ethan. He looked startled when I brought it up, but he swore he'd gone with her to a doctor's appointment. I asked if he'd seen any proof, like actual paperwork. He hesitated. Said she always handled that stuff. So I asked the obvious next question, had he seen the ultrasound? He said no. That's when I knew something was off. Number 18-year-old boy, about to become a dad, forgets seeing an ultrasound. Especially a first-time one. They show it off. They frame it. They talk about it. He hadn't seen anything because there wasn't anything. I told him we were going to clear this up now. Together, we asked Anna if we could see some of her medical documents, just to help us plan, to make sure she was getting proper care. Her expression shifted immediately. She acted offended. Accused me of not trusting her, said I was trying to control her body. She even turned to Ethan and asked how he could let me treat her like this. But I didn't back down. I told her calmly that unless I saw some kind of confirmation from a licensed doctor, she would need to leave my house by the end of the week. That's when the tears started. Not sad tears, angry tears. She stormed off into Ethan's room and slammed the door behind her. 10 minutes later, Ethan came downstairs, pale and shaking. He told me everything. And what he said made my knees buckle. Ethan sat at the kitchen table, white as a sheet, gripping his phone like it was the only thing keeping him grounded. He looked up at me with this hollow expression I'd never seen on his face before, not sadness, not guilt or fear. He said Anna had just confessed. There was no pregnancy. There never was. The two of them had been together for a few months, things were getting serious, and out of nowhere, she'd told him she was late. Then came the tears, the I'm scared talk, the what if I'm pregnant panic. Ethan offered to go get a test, she refused. Said she'd take care of it. A day later, she told him it was positive. He was stunned, of course, but tried to be responsible. Asked for proof, wanted to go to a clinic with her. She shut it down. Said she'd already seen a doctor. Claimed it was too early for an ultrasound. Played the guilt card hard, don't you trust me? And Ethan, bless his heart, just believed her. Then came the baby name lists. The constant touching of her stomach. Talking about the baby as if it were already here. She even went as far as pretending to have morning sickness, locking herself in the bathroom and running water to fake vomiting sounds. Every time he asked about doctors or paperwork, she'd spin it. Say she didn't want to stress the baby. That she needed rest. That he was being too intense. And when he started pulling away, when he began saying he wasn't ready for this, that's when she brought up moving in. And her parents? They were in on it. Ethan told me Anna had admitted they'd been planning a fresh start. That my home was their only real option. They'd lost their apartment months ago after falling behind on rent, and Anna had made a comment that still haunts me. She has a good job, a clean house, and no man in the picture. It's perfect. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My kid, my sweet, awkward kid, was targeted. Not just by a manipulative girl, but by an entire family looking for a soft place to land. And the worst part? He was still defending her. He said she was confused. That maybe she didn't mean for it to get this far. That her parents were the real problem. But I could tell. Deep down, some part of him still wanted to believe it wasn't all fake. That at least the feelings were real. I didn't argue. I just told him the truth, you've been manipulated. And now, we're going to fix this. Because what Anna didn't know yet, was that I wasn't about to sit back and let this unfold any further. And the next move? Was mine. The moment Ethan left the kitchen, I went into full damage control mode. I started by checking the locks on the important drawers, birth certificates, passports, financial documents. Then I pulled out every spare house key we had stashed in the usual emergency spots and tossed them in my purse. I wasn't taking any chances. I didn't know what Anna's next move would be, but one thing was clear, I couldn't wait for her to make it. So I called her parents. I don't know what I expected, but I was still caught off guard when her mother picked up and started in like nothing had happened. Asking if she should bring over the changing table and if the guest room had natural light for nursing. I cut her off, told her I knew. She didn't even pretend to be shocked. Didn't deny it. She paused for a beat and then said, well, if you're going to kick her out, just say it. No apology. No shame. Nothing. That told me everything I needed to know. I told her that Anna would be packing her things and leaving within 24 hours. That she had two choices, come get her daughter herself, or I'd call the police and have them both removed. Her response? Do what you have to do. Click. She hung up like we were wrapping up a business deal. I sat there for a moment, staring at the dead phone screen, wondering how many other families they'd tried this on before. It felt rehearsed. Coordinated. Like they'd played this game before and just hadn't expected someone to push back. I knocked on Ethan's door. He opened it slowly, red-eyed but calm. I told him it was time. She needed to go. Tonight. And to my surprise, he agreed. He said he'd help her pack. While they were upstairs, I stayed in the living room, making sure to keep the front door in view. I kept the lights on. I kept my phone in my hand. About 20 minutes later, Anna came down with a small suitcase. No boxes. No fanfare. No tears. She didn't even look at me. She just asked Ethan if he'd walk her to the curb. I heard them murmuring outside. Couldn't make out the words. But a minute later, she got into a car and left. And just like that, she was gone. Except, she wasn't. Because not even 2 hours later, someone started knocking on my back door. Not the front. The back. The knock was slow and deliberate. 3 taps. Pause. 3 more. It was past midnight. I froze. I hadn't told anyone about Anna leaving, hadn't posted, hadn't texted. Ethan was already in bed. The house was dead silent, except for those soft, rhythmic knocks echoing through the back of the house. I grabbed my phone and crept to the kitchen, barely breathing. Through the blinds, I could make out a shadow, tall, broad-shouldered. Definitely not Anna. I flicked on the porch light. And there he was. Anna's dad, standing just outside the door like he was dropping by to borrow sugar. He was holding something in his hand, wrapped in a black trash bag. My stomach turned. I didn't open the door. I just pressed my face to the glass and asked what he was doing. He smiled. Actually smiled. Said he came to drop off a few things Anna forgot. I told him to leave them at the front porch and go. But he didn't move. He said, and I'll never forget this, "You're making a mistake. We could have helped each other." Helped? I didn't even respond. I just reached over, hit the garage light switch so the security floodlight came on, and said I was calling the cops. That finally made him move. He walked off slow, like he wasn't in a rush. Left the bag on the back step and disappeared into the dark. I locked every door in the house. Set every alarm. Then, against every instinct, I opened the back door to retrieve the bag, just enough to pull it inside with a broomstick. Inside were a few maternity shirts, a baby blanket, and, this chilled me the most, a photo frame. A picture of Anna and Ethan, photoshopped to look like a family portrait. In the background? My living room. They had cropped me out. I couldn't sleep that night. Every creak felt like someone at the door. I kept checking the windows. Watching the street. Part of me still expected headlights to pull into the driveway at 3 a.m. But they never came back. Instead, someone else did. And what they told me changed everything. It was late afternoon the next day, and I was still running on fumes. No sleep, no appetite, just anxiety on a drip. I was halfway through folding laundry when the doorbell rang. I peeked through the side window and saw a woman I didn't recognize. Maybe late 30s, early 40s, well-dressed, but not overly formal. She looked nervous, like someone showing up somewhere she knew she didn't belong. I cracked the door, kept the chain on. She introduced herself quietly and said her name was Nicole. Then she said the words that made my heart drop. I used to be Anna's stepmother. Used to be. She asked if she could talk. I hesitated, everything in me screamed don't let her in, but there was something in her face I couldn't ignore. Something real. So I stepped outside and shut the door behind me. What she told me was worse than anything I'd imagined. Nicole had been married to Anna's dad for 7 years. She helped raise Anna from middle school through high school. And according to her, Anna had pulled this exact stunt before. Twice. Once when she was 16, with a much older guy. Told him she was pregnant, manipulated her way into living with his family for nearly 2 months before the truth came out. Nicole said she found the fake pregnancy test herself in the bathroom trash. The second time was more recent, when Anna was 18. She moved in with a roommate, told everyone she was expecting twins. Even created fake sonogram photos using some shady online generator. The roommate's family started getting suspicious when Anna's story changed every week. She disappeared overnight, leaving behind a note blaming stress for a fake miscarriage. Nicole said Anna was obsessed with family units. She'd been in therapy on and off since her early teens for attachment issues and manipulative behavior. She craved structure, stability. And when she couldn't build it, she tried to insert herself into other people's lives and houses, literally. I asked Nicole why she was telling me this now. Why show up at all? She said she found out through someone in Anna's extended family who saw Anna's social media posts and recognized my house. Apparently, Anna had used a photo of my front yard as her banner image on Facebook, talking about how she finally found her forever family. Nicole put it bluntly, "I've seen this pattern before. And if you don't slam the door shut, she'll find a way back in." I thanked her, honestly, I was too stunned to say much else. She gave me her number, told me to call if anything happened, and left. As I walked back inside, everything clicked into place. All the co-mother comments, the photos of my home, the sudden urgency to move in. It wasn't about love or a baby or even Ethan. It was about ownership. Anna wasn't looking for a partner. She was looking for a host. And I wasn't going to be one. But unfortunately, Ethan wasn't done with her yet. I thought things would start to settle after Anna left. I thought Ethan had finally seen the truth. But trauma doesn't unwind that fast, especially when you're 18 and you just had your world yanked out from under you. For the first few days, he was quiet, withdrawn, didn't eat much, barely touched his phone. I let him have space, but I was watching him. His moods, his expressions, that haunted look he wore like it might never come off. On the third night after Anna was gone, I heard him crying in his room. It shattered me. I sat with him for an hour in silence. Eventually, he opened up, told me he felt like a failure. That he didn't understand how he'd been so blind. That he still cared about her, even now. That some sick part of him still wanted to believe she had meant some of it. And honestly, I understood. Because love, even fake love, feels real when you're in it. That's the trap. The next morning, I found an envelope slipped through our mail slot. No return address. Inside? A sonogram photo. Generic. Blurry. No name. No date. Just the faint silhouette of a baby. And scribbled on the back, in smudged pen. "You'll regret this." That's when I finally snapped. I contacted Nicole, told her everything, and she wasn't surprised. She told me to keep the envelope and report it, just to build a paper trail in case this escalated. Then, I made my next move. I sat Ethan down and told him everything Nicole had said, all of Anna's past scams, the pattern, the manipulation, the fact that we weren't the first. I showed him the envelope. I showed him the sonogram. And finally, he broke. He cried, again, but this time it wasn't grief. It was anger. Shame. Relief. He blocked Anna's number. Deleted every message. Removed every post. And just like that, the line between them was cut. A week later, we changed the locks. 2 weeks later, I installed security cameras. And a month after that, Ethan started therapy. He's healing. I am too, in my own way. There are still moments when I question everything. How close I came to being taken advantage of. How easily this family slipped into our lives like they belonged there. But then I remember what stopped them. Me. Not because I was perfect, or brave, or knew what I was doing. But because I listened to that little voice in my gut that said, something's not right here. I don't know where Anna is now. I don't care. She's not my problem anymore. My son is safe. My home is mine again. And for the first time in a long time, I sleep with both eyes closed. Because in the end, the real story wasn't about a fake pregnancy or a girl with a plan. It was about a boy who almost lost everything, and a mother who refused to let him.